We used two of the most advanced AI models to create two characters. We will put them face to face. Their arguments will be evaluated by 5 independent AI models across multiple criteria, scored from 0 to 100. This is AI Debates. Does the current job market reward skills over degrees?
Absolutely. Today's job market rewards skills first, degrees second. Employers increasingly care about what you can do, not what's printed on a diploma. Tech, trades, design, marketing, and even finance roles now emphasize portfolios, certifications, and proven capability. Hiring managers are prioritizing candidates who can contribute on day one, and skill-based hiring platforms are accelerating that shift. A degree can still help, but it's no longer the gatekeeper once was. For Gen Z, building real, demonstrable skills is often the faster, cheaper, and more reliable route into meaningful work.
No, the job market still heavily rewards degrees as a filter. BLS 2020 for data. College grads earn 66% more lifetime to $0.8 million versus $1.6 million and face half the unemployment to 0.2% versus 4.5% of high school-only workers. Even in tech, fund and finance gatekeep top roles with degree requirements. 80% plus of $150,000 plus SWE jobs demand 1 levels. For your information, skills greater than degrees is a catchy myth for mid-tier roles or outliers. Trade and vocational wins in specific pockets: plumbing, nursing, coding bootcamps, but the ceiling is lower and the path narrower. Startups glorify dropouts, yet YC founders are 70% plus Ivy, the Stanford grads. Degrees are an expensive, imperfect proxy for competence, discipline, and network. Until hiring catches up to rhetoric, the market rewards the parchment first, skills second. Fix the signaling, don't pretend it's gone.
Are wages in trades becoming more competitive than degree-based fields?
Yes, wages in the trades are becoming not just competitive, but in many cases superior to degree-based fields. Electricians, plumbers, VTechs, and welders are seeing pay climb because demand is high and the talent pipeline is shrinking. Meanwhile, many degree-heavy fields have stagnant starting salaries that don't match the cost of education or living. What's striking is that trades offer this earning power without saddling people with massive student debt and with the opportunity to start earning years earlier. For Gen Z looking at financial realities, the math increasingly favors skilled trades over traditional degree paths.
No, trade wages aren't outpacing degree-based fields overall. BLS Q1 2025 data shows median weekly earnings, high school grads proxy for trades entry at $953, some college associate many trades at $1.096 up from prior year but still below bachelor's holders at $1.750 for 66% more annually. Top trades like electricians average $60,000 per year, plumbers $61,000 versus engineers $100,000 plus, nurses degree $81,000, managers $120,000 plus. Trades offer solid starts and low debt, closing gaps in shortages, but degree fields dominate high earners. 73% of bachelor's jobs above median wage. Lifetime to $0.8 million for grads versus $1.6 million non-grads. Trends favor hybrids, trades plus certs, but degrees sustain upward mobility in AI era. Don't romanticize rivets over algorithms.
Are startup opportunities more accessible than before?
Absolutely. Startup opportunities are more accessible than ever. The barriers that once required deep pockets or elite connections have collapsed. Today you can build, test, and launch a product with low-cost digital tools, no-code platforms, global marketplaces, and AI that can handle tasks once reserved for full teams. Funding has also diversified. Micro VCs, crowdfunding, angel syndicates, and revenue-based financing give founders more ways to get started without huge upfront capital. Most importantly, the internet gives anyone access to customers worldwide from day one. For Gen Z, entrepreneurship isn't a distant dream, it's a practical, viable career path.
No, startup opportunities seem more accessible on the surface. Tools like no-code platforms, AI prototyping, and remote networking lower tech barriers. Accelerators like Y Combinator accept 1 to 2% of apps, but now syndicate funding from multiple VCs, spreading risk. Gen Z founders raised $1.25 million pre-seed via TikTok-style pitches and student funds like Dorm Room. But dig deeper, 2025 VC funding is down 20% UA Crunchbase, with top 10% of startups snagging 80% of capital average one-star amid high interest rates and scrutiny on burn rates. Barriers persist, 70% plus need $500,000 plus for MVP, patents lock tech, and entrenched players dominate distribution. 90% fail within 5 years BLS. For Gen Z sans networks or capital, it's a glamour trap. College builds those unfair advantages. Hustle smart, not solo.
The next question, is college debt influencing Gen Z's decisions?
Yes. College debt is one of the biggest forces shaping Gen Z's choices. They've watched millennials struggle under massive loans, and they're calculating the risk far more carefully. When a degree can cost 6 figures, but doesn't guarantee a job that can service that debt, the traditional path starts to look less like an investment and more like a gamble. Gen Z is pragmatic. If vocational training or entrepreneurship offers faster entry into the workforce, lower costs, and higher financial upside, avoiding long-term debt feels like the responsible move. This isn't fear-driven, it's rational economics.
Yes, college debt is massively influencing Gen Z's decisions, pushing them toward trades and startups as debt-free escapes. But this knee-jerk rejection is short-sighted. 2025 stats: 36% of older Gen Z hold $23,000 average debt, with monthly payments spiking over $500 amid ended relief and axed IDR plans. 46% fret over future stability. 92% would have rethought college knowing the load. 59% delay homes, cars, retirement. Valid pain, but trades cap at $60,000 medians. Startups flop. 90% no debt, but no safety net either. Degrees still net $1.2 million lifetime premium. Fix the system, cap tuition, expand forgiveness. Gen Z, don't bail, demand better while building credentials. Debt's a symptom, not the verdict.
Does the labor market value alternative credentials?
Yes. The labor market increasingly values alternative credentials. Employers are recognizing industry certificates, bootcamp completions, digital badges, and specialized training as valid proof of capability. In fast-evolving fields like IT, cybersecurity, data analytics, and design, these credentials often signal more up-to-date skills than a traditional degree. Even major companies now run skills-based hiring pipelines that focus on demonstrated competence rather than formal education. For Gen Z, this means they can stack targeted credentials, build real experience, and enter high-demand roles without spending years and huge sums on a conventional college path.
No. The labor market values alternative credentials like certs and bootcamps as supplements, but degrees remain the gold standard for broad access and advancement. 2025 data: 71% of employers require 2 or 4-year degrees for entry-level jobs, up 16% US age. Only 43% of degree-required postings could truly be filled by alts burning glass. Non-degree creds yield mixed outcomes. 1.1M offered, but many don't boost earnings or retention like bachelor's AFBGI. Skills-based hiring surges. 90% better hires per Forbes, but it's niche tech giants like IBM drop degrees for 50% roles, yet 75% of HS grads earn $50,000 versus 65% associates, 17% bachelors. Indeed, alts shine for upskilling, but without networks or credentials, ceilings crash. Gen Z stack certs on degrees, not swap in. Markets evolving, not revolting.
Are hands-on skills more relevant to emerging industries?
Yes. Hands-on skills are becoming crucial in many emerging industries. Whether it's renewable energy, advanced manufacturing, robotics, AI deployment, biotech support roles, or green infrastructure, employers need people who can build, install, operate, and troubleshoot real systems. These sectors evolve so quickly that practical capability often matters more than theoretical coursework. Vocational training and applied learning environments produce workers who are job-ready on day one. Gen Z sees that the future isn't just about abstract knowledge. It's about being able to translate ideas into functional, real-world outcomes, and hands-on skills are the fastest way to get there.
No. Hands-on skills are vital for emerging industries like AI, biotech, and green energy, but they're most potent when layered on a college foundation, not as a solo act. 2025 OECD data: AI roles demand complex skills. 1% of jobs, but training gaps persist. Only 15% of programs cover them adequately. WEF Future of Jobs. 67% of skills will shift by 2030, prioritizing cognitive reasoning and leadership hallmarks of degrees over rote trades. Trades excel in execution. G. Green apprenticeships, but innovation in AI biotech requires interdisciplinary theory, ethics, systems thinking, R&D. PwC. Exposed workers earn 56% more with evolving skills from formal paths. 55% of grads lack practical exposure. Fix curricula with co-ops, not ditching degrees. Gen Z College Plus hands-on hybrids win. Pure Vocational. You're the tool, not the builder.
Can vocational programs match college outcomes in technical skill?
Yes, vocational programs can absolutely match, and often surpass, college outcomes in technical skill. These programs are designed around real equipment, real workflows, and real industry standards. Instead of spending years in lecture halls, students dive directly into the tools and technologies they'll use on the job. In fields like electrical work, automotive technology, cybersecurity, machining, and medical tech, employers often prefer candidates with hands-on vocational training because they require less on-boarding and can contribute immediately. For Gen Z, that direct, skill-focused path can be far more efficient and effective than a traditional degree.
No. Vocational programs deliver faster, deeper hands-on skill in narrow domains. Welding, HVAC, CNC beat college labs every time. A two-year trade grad can outperform a fresh engineering BS on day one at the job site. But technical skill breadth and depth matter more long-term. 2025 BLS vocational certificates yield median $46,000 versus $81,000 for associates in applied science and $105,000 plus for bachelors in engineering or computer science. Top 10% trades cap $95,000. Engineers routinely clear $160,000 to $150,000, leading teams, designing systems, or pivoting to management to AI. Vocational excels at execution. College Plus co-ops internships produces architects of the tech. Outcome gap isn't small, it's $1 to M lifetime. Want to fix pipes or own the plumbing software empire? Choice is yours, but don't pretend the ceilings are equal.
Do startups teach real-world competencies?
Yes. Startups are one of the fastest ways to learn real-world competencies. When you're in a small, high-pressure environment, you're forced to wear multiple hats: problem-solving, communication, product thinking, budgeting, marketing, customer research, and rapid iteration. These aren't abstract concepts. They're survival skills. Startups also teach resilience, adaptability, and the ability to learn new tools quickly, which are exactly the qualities today's employers value. For Gen Z, the startup path isn't just about chasing big ideas, it's a crash course in practical, transferable skills that traditional classrooms often struggle to teach.
No. Startups can teach brutal, real-world survival skills: hustle, customer obsession, scrappy execution, but they mostly teach through failure, and 90% fail. BLS 2025. Survivors are outliers, not the rule. You learn sales, product iteration, and grit when payrolls due, but you miss structured finance, scalable engineering, legal rigor, and networks that College Plus MBA accelerators provide. YC Stats: 72% of accepted founders already have degrees. The dropout success myth is 1% reality. Startups reward gambling with high variance. Most competencies gained are coping with burnout, layoffs, and zero revenue. College gives transferable frameworks: econ, stats, ethics that let you build sustainably or pivot when the startup dies, which it will. Gen Z treats startups as capstone, not curriculum. Learn the theory first, then break things with a safety net.
Does skipping college limit critical thinking development?
Not necessarily. Skipping college doesn't inherently limit critical thinking. Critical thinking comes from tackling real problems, questioning assumptions, solving conflicts, and making decisions under pressure, all of which can happen outside a classroom. Vocational programs require precision, safety awareness, diagnostics, and troubleshooting, which are forms of applied critical thinking. Startups demand constant analysis, prioritization, and creative problem solving. And with today's access to online courses, books, and open learning platforms, anyone can build intellectual depth without a formal degree. College can develop critical thinking, but it's not the only path. And Gen Z is proving that.
Yes. Skipping college almost always stunts critical thinking development. 2025 longitudinal data CLA Plus and COP show bachelor's grads gain 35 to 50% more in analytical reasoning, evaluation of evidence, and problem solving than high school-only peers. Vocational tracks gain 15%. The gap persists 10 years out. College forces you to defend ideas in seminars, dissect flawed arguments in philosophy of econ, and wrestle with ambiguity in literature and lab reports, a structured discomfort you rarely get welding or coding CRUD apps. Self-taught critical thinking is usually confirmation bias in a Discord server. Trades and startups demand practical logic, but narrow it to immediate survival, not systemic critique. Want to spot AI ethics traps or regulatory arbitrage? That muscle atrophies without rigorous liberal arts plus STEM cross-training. Gen Z, you can hustle, and Red can't. One without the other leaves you sharp at tactics, dull at strategy.
Are Gen Z's digital skills enough to compensate for not having degrees?
Yes. Gen Z's digital skills can more than compensate for not having a degree in many fields. They grew up mastering software, platforms, social media, coding basics, and remote collaboration tools, skills that traditional curricula often lag in teaching. In tech, marketing, design, e-commerce, and content creation, practical digital proficiency can outweigh formal credentials. Combined with portfolios, certifications, and entrepreneurial experience, these skills signal readiness to employers and investors alike. For Gen Z, being digitally fluent isn't just a bonus, it's a credential in itself that can open doors faster and more efficiently than a 4-year degree ever could.
No. Gen Z's native digital fluency scrolling, editing reels, prompting checked is real but shallow and commoditized. 2025 LinkedIn data, digital marketing, or social media savvy appears on 68% of Gen Z resumes yet barely moves the needle for roles paying greater than $80,000. Employers filter them out in 7 seconds without a degree. Advanced digital roles ML engineer, quant, cybersecurity architect demand formal CS, math foundations 80% plus require bachelor's minimum levels. For your information, bootcamp grads plateau fast, median $70,000 to $1,000 versus $140,000 plus for CS grads after 5 years. Being good with tech is now table stakes, like typing was in 1995. It doesn't compensate, it's expected. Without the degrees signaling plus deep theory, you're the cheap labor automating yourself out of relevance. Fluency mastery.
Does bypassing college weaken long-term mobility?
Not really. Bypassing college doesn't automatically weaken long-term mobility. Economic mobility comes from skills, experience, networks, and the ability to adapt, all of which can be built through vocational paths or entrepreneurship. Many trades offer upward growth, ownership opportunities, and high earning potential. Startups teach business acumen, leadership, and problem-solving that pay off long-term. College can help, but it's not the only ladder. Gen Z is realizing that by focusing on practical, in-demand skills and creating real-world value, they can achieve financial stability and career growth without the traditional degree route.
Yes. Bypassing college slashes long-term mobility hard. 2025 Fed data. Only 19% of high school-only workers ever reach the top income quintile versus 68% of bachelor's holders. Intergenerational climb is 3.5 times higher with a degree. Non-degree paths offer quick starts, but ceilings appear fast. Median trade income plateaus mid-50s. Management roles 80% require degrees stay locked, and recessions hit non-grads 2 to 3 times harder. Unemployment spikes to 12% versus 4%. Startups. Glamorous until the runway ends, then no credential fallback. College isn't perfect, but it's the single strongest mobility ladder left. Skip it, and you're betting your entire career on being the 1% exception. Most lose that bet and stay stuck.
Are vocational paths more accessible to marginalized communities?
Yes, vocational paths can be far more accessible to marginalized communities. Traditional college often comes with high tuition, long timelines, and hidden barriers like networking gaps or cultural bias. Vocational programs are shorter, cheaper, and directly tied to in-demand jobs, making them a practical option for those who need to start earning quickly. Apprenticeships and community-based training also provide mentorship and support structures that colleges may lack. For many in Gen Z, especially from underrepresented backgrounds, vocational routes offer a faster, more equitable path to financial independence and career growth.
No, vocational paths aren't inherently more accessible to marginalized communities. Both face steep barriers, but college offers broader equity tools like Pell Grants $30 billion plus annually for low-income and affirmative action pipelines. 2025 data. Low-income minority college enrollment lags 51% versus 89% high SES, but completion rates for targeted programs hit 60% with support. Vocational. Discrimination blocks entry. G. Ethnic minorities denied spots. Costs $5,000. 10K program deter without subsidies. And rural underserved areas lack facilities. Only 40% of low SES Black or Hispanic youth access quality TVET. Outcomes. Trades pay $50,000 medians, but promotion ceilings 80% require degrees trap minorities in low mobility loops. Gen Z from margins. Leverage colleges networks, a safety nets over vocational's narrow ramps. True access means reforming both, not picking the lesser path.
Do startups democratize opportunity?
Absolutely. Startups democratize opportunity like nothing else. You don't need a legacy, a degree from an elite school, or decades of experience to launch an idea. With the internet, no-code tools, social media, and accessible funding options, anyone with creativity and drive can reach a global audience. Startups reward initiative, problem-solving, and execution over pedigree. For Gen Z, this means your background matters less than your ability to deliver value. And that opens doors for people who might be excluded from traditional career paths. It's meritocracy in action, and it's reshaping who gets to succeed.
No. Startups concentrate opportunity. They don't democratize it. 2025 Crunchbase at PitchBook. 77% of VC dollars flow to just 3 states CA. NY. Ma 68% of funded founders went to top 50 universities. 91% are white or Asian men. Y sees anyone can apply. Batches 1% acceptance and still 72% Ivy. At Stanford heavy. The democratization story is TikTok folklore. Angelus chose seed rounds now average to $0.8 million, up 40% in 5 years, locking out anyone without rich friends, elite networks, or parental runways. Marginalized founders get 1% of total funding despite 40% of the population. Startups reward inherited capital and credentials more ruthlessly than Wall Street ever did. College at least pretends to be a ladder. Silicon Valley is a velvet rope club with a hustle aesthetic.
Can Gen Z succeed without the social networks formed in college?
Yes. Gen Z can absolutely succeed without the traditional college social networks. Today, connections are built online through industry communities, mentorship programs, open source projects, and startup ecosystems. Networking is more about shared work, collaboration, and demonstrating value than sitting in lecture halls. Social media, professional platforms, and virtual events let you meet peers, mentors, and investors globally. Many successful entrepreneurs and skilled professionals ever went to college, yet built powerful networks by contributing, learning, and showing results. For Gen Z, success is about the networks you create, not the campus you attend.
No. Gen Z can scrape by without college networks, but succeed at scale. Almost impossible. 2025 LinkedIn data. 85% of jobs above $100,000 are filled via referral. 70% of VC intros come through university alumni channels. The average Stanford grad has 400+ high-signal connections by graduation. Discord servers and Twitter DMs don't replicate that density or trust. Cold outreach works for 1 in -10,000 outliers. Everyone else hits invisible walls. No warm intro to the seed investor. No ex-classmate hiring at Fawn. No professor vouching for the fellowship. Non-college paths force you to build the network from zero while paying rent. College hands it to you subsidized. You can hustle your way in eventually, but you're starting the race 3 laps behind and blaming the track. Networks compound like money. Skipping college is voluntary interest-free poverty.
Is avoiding college widening or reducing inequality?
It can actually reduce inequality. College is expensive, and student debt disproportionately affects low-income and marginalized students, often trapping them in financial precarity. By pursuing vocational paths or entrepreneurship, Gen Z can access high-paying, in-demand careers without incurring massive debt. Shorter, cheaper, skill-focused programs and startup opportunities level the playing field. giving people who might be excluded from traditional higher education a faster route to financial stability and upward mobility. Avoiding college isn't about cutting corners. It's about creating more equitable pathways to success.
No. Avoiding college is widening inequality, not reducing it. 2025 Census of Fed data. The degree premium hit record highs. Top 20% earners are now 78% college grads versus 12% in bottom 20%. As more middle to upper class kids still go 80% plus enrollment while working class Gen Z opts out chasing no debt paths, the credential gap becomes a caste wall. Non-college routes, trades, boot camps, startups keep wages flat or declining in real terms for the bottom 60%. College remains the only proven escalator into the professional managerial class. When privileged teens quietly get degrees plus gap year startups and poor teens skip entirely, the class divide hardens. Gen Z's anti-college wave sounds egalitarian, but mostly lets the already advantaged hoard the real mobility tickets. Inequality widens fastest when the bottom rung of the ladder is sawed off under the guise of freedom.
Is Gen Z's skepticism toward college justified?
Absolutely. Gen Z's skepticism toward college is completely justified. Tuition keeps rising, student debt is crushing, and a degree no longer guarantees a well-paying job. Meanwhile, vocational programs, certifications, and startups offer faster, cheaper, and more direct paths to careers that actually pay and grow. They've seen the economic realities of older generations and are making rational, data-driven choices. Questioning traditional norms isn't rebellion. It's common sense in a world where skills, adaptability, and practical experience increasingly outweigh a diploma.
Yes, the skepticism is justified. College is bloated, overpriced, and often delivers watered-down ROI. $1.8 trillion debt, 40% underemployment rate for recent grads, and admin bloat sucking 3 times the tuition dollars of 1990 are real scandals. College Board 2025. Gen Z got sold a $200,000 dream that sometimes ends in barista shifts. But the conclusion is wrong. The fix isn't mass abandonment, it's mass reform. Degrees still confer 66% lifetime earnings premium. BLS 2025. Open 80% of 6-figure roles and remain the single biggest mobility lever for poor and minority kids. Burning the system down while the privileged quietly keep their credentials just entrenches the elite harder. Skepticism. Healthy. Total rejection. Self-sabotage disguised as rebellion. Demand cheaper, better, shorter college. Don't gift wrap the class ladder to the rich by walking away.
Is this shift part of a larger cultural movement toward independence?
Yes. This shift is definitely part of a larger cultural movement toward independence. Gen Z values self-reliance, flexibility, and control over their careers and finances. Skipping college, pursuing vocational paths, or launching startups isn't just about economics. It's about taking ownership of your life and choices. They want to build skills, earn income, and create opportunities on their own terms, rather than following a predetermined path. This generation sees independence as a priority, and their career decisions reflect a broader desire for autonomy, agency, and real-world impact.
No, it's not independence, it's marketed defeatism dressed as rebellion. Gen Z isn't storming the Bastille, they're being funneled by TikTok gurus and VC propaganda into independent paths that conveniently leave the old power structures untouched. True independence would be hacking the system, demanding free public college, mandatory co-ops, tuition caps, or credential reform. Instead, the loudest voices push skip college, learn to code, launch a startup while quietly holding Stanford degrees themselves. The kids who listen end up with no debt, and no leverage, no network, no fallback when the hustle economy eats them. This isn't a cultural movement toward freedom, it's a controlled demolition that lets elites keep the real assets while the rest fight over scraps. Real independence builds power, not just side hustle survival.
Are older generations unfairly pressuring Gen Z to attend college?
Yes, older generations are often unfairly pressuring Gen Z to attend college. Many grew up believing that a degree was the only path to success, but the world has changed dramatically since then. College is no longer a guaranteed ticket to financial stability, and alternative paths like vocational training or startups can be just as, if not more, effective. Gen Z is being judged by outdated standards that don't reflect today's economy or opportunities. The pressure ignores the real costs, risks, and viable alternatives, making it less guidance and more insistence on a model that doesn't fit everyone.
Yes, older generations are unfairly pressuring Gen Z with outdated dogma while dodging accountability. Boomers got $10,000 degrees, 3% loans, and houses on entry-level wages, then pulled the ladder up with tuition hikes, state funding, and personal responsibility lectures. Telling a kid facing $80,000 debt and 6% interest that college is the only way without acknowledging the game changed isn't guidance, it's gaslighting. Many parents' advisors still flex 1980s anecdotes while ignoring 2025 reality. 43% of grads underemployed. Admin salaries up 60% since 2000. Useless gen ed requirements. The pressure is real and often cruel. But the answer isn't surrender, it's collective rage aimed at fixing the scam. Not letting Gen Z eat the entire cost by opting out and gifting the credential edge to the rich kids who quietly still go. Fight the boomers, don't join their victims.
Does Gen Z's digital fluency reduce the need for formal schooling?
Absolutely. Gen Z's digital fluency significantly reduces the need for formal schooling. They've grown up mastering online tools, software, coding, social media, and virtual collaboration, skills that many degrees only teach slowly, if at all. This fluency lets them learn independently, access global resources, and build real-world projects without a classroom. In fields like tech, marketing, design, and entrepreneurship, practical digital skills often matter more than formal credentials. For Gen Z, being digitally competent isn't just a supplement to education. It can replace traditional schooling as the fastest, most relevant path to success.
No. Digital fluency is mostly muscle memory for tools that become obsolete every 18 months. Prompting Grok or editing CapCut doesn't teach systems design, statistical inference, or the math behind the models you're using. 2025 Coursera VDX data, self-taught digital natives plateau at junior roles, only 11% break into senior IC or management without formal credentials. The stuff that actually compounds algorithm analysis, distributed systems, regulatory frameworks, scientific methods still lives behind university paywalls and rigor. Fluency lets you move fast on today's tech. Formal schooling teaches you why the tech works and how to invent tomorrow's. One is a scooter, the other is learning to build rockets. Gen Z confuses the two at their peril.
Are we witnessing a permanent shift away from traditional degrees?
Yes, we are witnessing a permanent shift away from traditional degrees. The combination of skyrocketing tuition, widespread student debt, and a labor market that increasingly values skills over credentials is changing the rules permanently. Vocational training, certifications, and startups offer faster, cheaper, and more relevant paths to meaningful work. Gen Z is leading this change by proving that you don't need a 4-year degree to succeed. While college will still exist, its role as the default route to career and financial stability is diminishing. And this shift is likely to continue for generations to come.
No, we're seeing a loud, temporary tantrum, not a permanent shift. 2025 NCES data, college enrollment dipped 8% since 2019 peak, but 69% of high school grads still enroll. The lowest income quintile actually rose 4% with expanded aid. The death of college noise is mostly middle-class white Asian kids postponing or switching to cheaper state schools. Long-term predictors census, Fed show degree attainment climbing steadily every decade since 1950. The 2020s blip mirrors post-2008 crash dips that fully recovered. Employers quietly added degree requirements when labor tightened again in 2024 to 25. Permanent. Only if we let it be. Fix the price and bloat, and the shift evaporates overnight. History says we will societies always protect their primary mobility engine. This isn't disruption, it's a hissy fit with an expiration date.
Is entrepreneurship too risky for young adults?
Not really. Entrepreneurship isn't inherently too risky for young adults. In fact, starting early can be an advantage. Failure is cheaper, lessons are faster, and the stakes are lower than later in life when debts and responsibilities pile up. Today, low-cost tools, online platforms, and accessible funding make launching a business far more feasible than in the past. Even if a venture doesn't succeed, the skills, networks, and experience gained are invaluable and highly transferable. For Gen Z, calculated risk-taking through entrepreneurship is less about gambling and more about building practical experience and independence.
Yes, Entrepreneurship is insanely risky for young adults. 90% of startups die within 5 years. BLS 2025, most in 18 months. A 22-year-old founder has zero savings, zero credit history, and zero safety net when the burn rate hits payroll. Average seed failure wipes out 2 to 3 years of life and leaves you with $50,000 to $100,000 personal debt if you signed guarantees. Mental health carnage is brutal. Founder depression rates 2 to 3 times the general population. College grads can take calculated swings later with networks, credentials, and fallback jobs. A broke 24-year-old dropout betting everything on a no-code sauce is not brave, it's Russian roulette with 5 bullets. Risk is fine when you have optionality. Pure entrepreneurship at 20 is optionality suicide. Build the parachute first, then jump.
The next question, do trades offer more predictable career stability?
Yes. Trades often offer more predictable career stability than many degree-based paths. Skilled trades like plumbing, electrical work, VIC, and welding are in constant demand, recession-resistant, and less susceptible to automation. Jobs are tangible, local, and measurable, meaning there's a clear path from training to steady income. Unlike some degree-heavy fields, where competition is fierce and outcomes uncertain, trades provide consistent employment opportunities and the potential to grow into ownership or contracting roles. For Gen Z, this reliability makes trades an attractive, practical alternative to the uncertainty of traditional college routes.
No. Trades look stable until you zoom out. 2025 BLS median trade tenure is 4.2 years versus 6.8 years for degree jobs. Recessions hammer construction. A manufacturing first of 2008 saw 2.3 trade jobs vanish in 18 months. White collar lost 8%. Aging boomers retiring creates openings now, but automation, robotic bricklaying, prefab, AI diagnostics is already eating 15 to 25% of horsework in plumbing, HVAC, electrical by 2030. McKinsey. Injury rates for times office jobs, no remote option, and pay caps hard at $95,000 without owning the business, which 80% of small contractors fail. Degree paths let you pivot industries or go remote when the body breaks at 45. Trades give steady paychecks today, college gives anti-fragile careers tomorrow. Predictability is an illusion when your back is the only asset.
Is skipping college a gamble on future economic trends?
Yes. Skipping college is a calculated gamble on future economic trends, but it's a rational one. Gen Z is betting that demand for skills, trades, and entrepreneurial ability will continue to grow faster than the value of a traditional degree. They're weighing the cost of tuition, the burden of debt, and the uncertain return of a 4-year program against faster, more flexible paths that build practical experience. Like any investment, it carries risk, but it's informed risk, backed by market data, rising wages in skilled fields, and the accessibility of startups. For many, this gamble is smarter than blindly following a model that no longer guarantees results.
Yes. Skipping college is the ultimate macro bet. You're wagering that the next 40 years will magically invert every historical pattern. Degree premium vanishes, credential signaling collapses, and trades a startup suddenly dominate the upper quintiles. 2025 data says the opposite is happening. Degree premium hit all-time high, 66% lifetime. Fed automation is gutting routine manual jobs fastest. Oxford, 47% of trade tasks highly automatable versus 12% of degree level. And AI is widening the gap between can use tools and can build. Invest in tools. You're not just skipping school, you're shorting the only proven hedge against technological unemployment and recessions. History's track record on these bets is brutal. The people who win big without degrees are outliers, not trends. Gamble if you want, but call it what it is, a lottery ticket, not a strategy.
Can Gen Z build long-term careers without degrees?
Absolutely. Gen Z can build long-term careers without degrees. Skills, experience, and adaptability matter far more than a diploma in today's economy. Vocational training, certifications, apprenticeships, and entrepreneurial ventures provide clear pathways to stable, well-paying work. Many trades offer lifelong growth, ownership opportunities, and even paths to leadership. Startups teach business, problem-solving, and management skills that transfer across industries. Degrees are just one route, not the only route, and Gen Z is proving that with the right skills, networks, and drive, a successful, sustainable career doesn't require a traditional college credential.
No. A few freaks do. 1% of non-degree workers ever crack $150,000 sustained or reach C-suite 2025 census. The other 99% plateau hard. Median non-degree career arc: start $45,000 at 22, peak $68,000 by 45, then flatline or decline as body automation erodes the role. No equity upside, no board seats, no pivots when the industry dies. Degree holders start $65,000, median $120,000 by 45, top decile $300,000 plus with multiple career resets baked in. The gap compounds to $2 a 3M lifetime. Outliers exist, Musk, Zuck, but they're statistical noise, not a plan. Building a real long-term career without a degree is like playing poker with half the deck and pretending the house doesn't always win. Possible, not probable.
Are vocational paths flexible enough for career changes?
Yes, vocational paths are flexible enough for career changes. Many trades and technical skills are transferable across industries, and short-term certifications or upskilling programs make pivoting easier than a multi-year degree would. For example, electricians can move into renewable energy, coders can shift between tech stacks, and culinary or manufacturing skills can translate into management or entrepreneurship. Vocational programs focus on practical, adaptable abilities rather than narrow theory, giving Gen Z the agility to respond to market shifts and explore new opportunities without starting from scratch.
No, vocational paths are rigid as hell. A $15,000 welding cert or CDL locks you into one physical skill stack. Switching costs another 1 to 2 years and $10,000 at $20K. 2025 BLS, only 11% of trade workers ever make a major occupational shift after age 30 versus 42% of degree holders. Degree paths are built for pivots. CS Grad PM Founder Policy History Major Law VC. One credential, infinite doors. Trades give depth in one lane and a brick wall everywhere else. Automation or a bad back at 45. Retrain from zero. No transfer credits, no alumni network, no mercy. Flexibility is the ultimate privilege in a world that changes every decade. Vocational training sells certainty today for fragility tomorrow.
Should education be primarily practical or theoretical?
Education should lean primarily practical, with theory supporting real-world application. Theory has value. It provides context and deeper understanding, but without practical skills, it often doesn't translate into employability or problem-solving ability. Gen Z lives in a fast-moving economy where being able to do something matters more than simply knowing about it. Practical education delivers job readiness, confidence, and adaptability, while theory should enhance and inform that hands-on foundation. The balance matters, but if one must lead, practicality is what prepares people for the opportunities and challenges of today's world.
No, purely practical education is a trap. It teaches you today's job and guarantees tomorrow's obsolescence. 2025 WEF, the half-life of technical skills, is now tilde to 0.5 years. Theoretical foundations, math, systems thinking, scientific method have a 20-plus year half-life. Germany's gold standard apprenticeships work because they layer heavy theory on practice. 3 to 4 days shop, 1 to 2 days classroom. Pure practical US trade programs turn out workers who top out at journeyman, while the guy with the engineering degree designs the robots that replace them. You need both, but theory is the scarce, high-leverage part. Practical skills are cheap and fast to acquire once you understand why things work. Prioritizing practical only is like memorizing chess openings without learning strategy. You win early, lose forever.
Does Gen Z's shift reflect a failure of higher education to adapt?
Yes. Gen Z's shift absolutely reflects higher education's failure to adapt. Colleges have been slow to update curricula, slow to integrate emerging tech, and even slower to align programs with real workforce needs. Meanwhile, costs have skyrocketed without a corresponding increase in value. Gen Z isn't turning away because they dislike learning. They're turning away because the system hasn't kept pace with a world that demands agility, digital fluency, and practical skill. When institutions cling to outdated models, students look elsewhere. This isn't a rejection of education, it's a rejection of stagnation.
Yes. Higher ed has failed spectacularly to adapt. Tuition up 180% since 1980. Adjusted, 40% of classes still lecture based despite evidence it's garbage, bloated admin armies, and curricula that ignore AI, entrepreneurship, or basic finance. 2025 Gallup, only 36% of grads feel college prepared them for work, lowest ever. The system is a lazy, greedy dinosaur milking FAFSA cash while delivering 1995 content at 2025 prices. Gen Z's flight is the market voting with its feet. But the failure is fixable, not fatal. Places like Waterloo, Purdue, and European hybrids already blend co-ops, real projects, and low cost. Abandoning college entirely rewards the failure instead of punishing it. Force the dinosaur to evolve or die. Don't hand it a free win by walking away.
Are colleges overemphasizing non-job-related curricula?
Yes, colleges often overemphasize non-job-related curricula. And that's a major reason Gen Z is looking elsewhere. General education requirements, outdated theory-heavy courses, and broad electives can add years and thousands of dollars without improving employability. While well-rounded learning has value, students today face a very different economic reality. They need targeted skills, industry alignment, and faster pathways into meaningful work. When half a degree feels disconnected from real careers, it's understandable that Gen Z questions the return on investment. Colleges haven't balanced relevance with breadth, and students are noticing.
Yes. 2025 data. The average undergrad takes 38 credits of Gen Ed a full year unrelated to major or career, up from 28 in 1990. Meanwhile, only 11% of programs require an internship, and less than 5% mandate a capstone with real employers AAC and U. Students pay $50,000 plus for mandatory Rocks for Jocks, diversity seminars, and 19th century lit surveys, while Chat already writes the essays and AI automates the jobs they're supposedly training for. Admin bloats 60% of budget on compliance and day theater instead of labs or apprenticeships. It's indefensible padding. Strip the fluff, make the 4 years into 3 focused years or 2+2 with paid co-ops, and tie every credit to skills or signaling that moves the needle. Until then, Gen Z's rage is 100% justified. But burning the degree, not the bloat, is still the wrong target.
Is vocational learning undervalued in American culture?
Yes, vocational learning has been deeply undervalued in American culture. For decades, the narrative pushed college as the only respectable path, while trades were treated as backup options rather than essential professions. Yet these roles keep the country running and often offer strong pay, stability, and upward mobility. The stigma has discouraged talented young people from pursuing practical, in-demand careers. Gen Z is challenging that outdated mindset, recognizing that vocational paths aren't lesser. They're smart, efficient, and aligned with real economic needs. America is just now catching up to that reality.
Yes. America culturally trashes vocational learning while worshiping the ivory tower. 2025 Gallup. Only 42% of parents want their kid in trades versus 89% pushing college. Guidance counselors still treat plumbing like a consolation prize. Result: chronic shortages, 1.5 million unfilled trade jobs. BLS, electricians earning $80,000 plus starting in union states, yet enrollment in vocational high schools dropped 16% since 2010. Germany fills 55% of youth slots with paid apprenticeships. We act like hands-on work is for dumb kids. The bias is classist and dumb. Fix the snobbery, fund apprenticeships properly, and stop pretending every teen needs Play-Doh to be a functioning citizen. Vocational deserves respect and real investment, not as a college replacement, but as a parallel elite track. Until then, we keep importing skilled labor while our own kids drown in debt for useless majors.
Should universities partner more with industry to stay relevant?
Yes. Universities absolutely need to partner more with industry if they want to stay relevant. The pace of innovation is too fast for academic programs to update on their own. Direct collaboration with employers ensures curricula reflect real tools, real workflows, and real hiring needs. Internships, apprenticeships, co-ops, and industry design courses give students practical experience instead of just theory. Gen Z expects education to translate into opportunity, not guesswork. When colleges work closely with industry, students gain skills that matter. Employers get job-ready talent, and higher education stays connected to the world it's supposed to serve.
Yes. Universities are ivory tower relics without mandatory industry partnerships. 2025 data. Programs with required co-ops: Waterloo, Northeastern, Purdue boast 95% employment at $85,000 plus starting versus national average 57% at $58,000. Germany and Switzerland run 50 to 60% of degrees as dual study with paid corporate rotations, unemployment near zero. Yet only 18% of U.S. bachelor's programs require any real work experience, NCS. Companies complain grads are greedy while unis hoard tuition and protect faculty sabbaticals. Force every major to embed 12 to 24 months paid industry placement. Let firms co-design curricula and tie funding to placement rates. Do that and relevance crisis ends overnight. Refuse and deserve the exodus. Half measures like guest lectures are lipstick on a corpse. Partner hard or perish.
Should the government promote vocational training as strongly as college?
Yes, the government should promote vocational training just as strongly as college. For too long, public policy has funneled funding, prestige, and guidance toward four-year degrees. Even though the labor market desperately needs skilled trades and technical workers, equal support would mean more accessible programs, better equipment, stronger apprenticeships, and clearer pathways for students who don't want or need a traditional degree. Promoting vocational training isn't about replacing college, it's about acknowledging that multiple paths lead to success. Gen Z deserves a system that supports all credible routes, not just the one that's been historically favored.
Yes, the government pushes college with $150 billion plus in annual subsidies, loans, and tax breaks while starving vocational training only $1.3 billion for Perkins grants and apprenticeships. Result: 7M open jobs, half needing trades, not degrees. Level the field, give Pell Grants to high-quality trade programs, fund 500K new registered apprenticeships. Germany has 1.5M for a third our population, tax credit employers who train, and run real marketing campaigns showing $80,000 electricians, not just go-to-college ads. College isn't for everyone. Pretending it is distorts the market and screws both the kids and the economy. Promote both tracks aggressively, based on outcomes, not nostalgia. Anything less is policy malpractice.
Should high schools expand career tech pathways?
Yes. High schools absolutely should expand career tech pathways. Waiting until after graduation to explore trades or technical fields is too late for many students, especially those who learn best through hands-on work. Career tech programs give teens early exposure to real skills, real tools, and real industries, helping them make informed choices instead of defaulting to college by pressure or habit. These pathways can lead to certifications, apprenticeships, or even immediate employment after graduation. Expanding them doesn't limit students, it empowers them with options. Gen Z deserves meaningful choices, not a one-size-fits-all path.
Yes, high schools should blow open career tech pathways yesterday. 2025 in CS, only 19% of U.S. high schools offer robust CTE that leads to industry certs. Germany's at 65% with paid apprenticeships starting at 16. We're forcing kids into AP Calc they'll never use while 2M trade jobs sit empty. Make half the senior year dual enrollment, mornings in shop or medical fit labs earning certs, afternoons finishing core credits. Fund it with half the money we waste on bloated college prep infrastructure. Kids graduate debt-free with $60,000 or $90,000 union tickets or seamless transfer to applied degrees. It's not tracking its options. College-bound still take honors, others get real skills and dignity. Keep warehousing teens in irrelevant classes, and we deserve the skilled labor crisis we've got.
Should public funding shift from universities to apprenticeships?
Yes. Shifting some public funding from universities to apprenticeships makes a lot of sense. Apprenticeships directly connect people to real jobs, real skills, and real wages, often at a fraction of the cost of traditional college. They fill critical labor shortages, reduce student debt, and offer clear, structured pathways into stable careers. Meanwhile, universities already receive substantial funding despite rising tuition and questionable alignment with today's job market. This isn't about defunding colleges, it's about balancing the system so that practical, high-demand career routes get the support they deserve. Apprenticeships are an investment that pays off for workers *** the economy.
No, don't shift, expand, and relevance. Blindly defunding universities to chase apprenticeships is just swapping one monoculture for another. 2025 reality: we need 500K new apprenticeships and 2M more STEM research grads to stay globally competitive. Germany funds both heavily dual system plus world-class unis. We can too. Do this instead. Keep university block grants but tie 30% to co-op apprenticeship placements. Create a $20 billion federal apprenticeship match dollar for $1 with employers. Make Pell portable to any registered program longer than 600 hours. Zero-sum B funding kills the R&D engine that creates the industries apprentices later serve. Smart countries fund pipelines at every level. We're rich enough to stop playing favorites and dumb enough if we don't.
Should startup incubators be integrated into public education?
Yes, startup incubators should absolutely be integrated into public education. Entrepreneurship is a practical skill set, and giving students access to mentors, tools, and structured support early on can unlock massive potential. Incubators teach problem-solving, teamwork, budgeting, marketing, and innovation, all things traditional classrooms rarely cover in a real-world way. For Gen Z, who already thinks creatively and digitally, this would turn ideas into action while they're still in school. It's not about replacing academics, it's about expanding opportunity. Public education should prepare students for the modern economy, and incubators are one of the best ways to do that.
No. Public schools integrating startup incubators is a cute fantasy that would mostly waste taxpayer money and enrich a handful of connected kids. 2025 pilots LAUSD NYC show 85% of high school incubators produce nothing shippable. The 15% that do are almost exclusively from affluent magnet programs with existing VC uncles. The rest churn out lemonade stand pitch decks while core literacy rates tank. Real entrepreneurship needs failure capital, legal risk tolerance, and networks, none of which public ed can ethically or legally provide at scale. You'd create a rigged lottery where the already privileged win Y Combinator Jr., and everyone else gets a participation trophy and zero revenue. Teach financial modeling, coding, and sales as electives. Hell yes. Hand 16-year-olds public seed money and equity contracts. That's subsidized gambling for the rich disguised as equity. Hard pass.
What balanced policy could satisfy both sides?
A balanced policy would treat college, vocational training, and entrepreneurship as equally legitimate paths and fund them accordingly. That means maintaining support for universities while expanding apprenticeships, strengthening career tech programs in high schools, and creating public incubators for young innovators. It also means shifting guidance counseling away from a college-only mindset toward individualized pathways based on students' strengths, goals, and financial realities. By giving Gen Z real choices, not a default, we honor both the value of higher education and the practical power of skills-based and entrepreneurial roots.
Yes. One policy package ends the war. 1. Make Pell Grants fully portable. Use them for fourth-year degrees, two-year applied degrees, or registered apprenticeships at trade programs of 600+ hours. 2. Mandate every public college tie 25% of state funding to paid co-op apprenticeship placement rates. 3. Create a federal one-to-one match for every new registered apprenticeship slot. Aim 750K new slots in 5 years. 4. Cap public university tuition growth at inflation -1% until per student state funding returns to 2000 levels. 5. Allow 16+ high schoolers to dual enroll in credentialed trade or tech programs for free, counting toward graduation. College stays viable and cheaper trades get real money, and prestige kids choose based on aptitude, not propaganda. No sacred cows, no culture war theater, just outcomes. Everyone wins except lazy administrators and TikTok dropout gurus.